Hi, good morning, everyone. So today, uh, in continuation of the series that we are doing on Porma, a very beautiful architecture proposed by Martin Seligman for happiness. One of the building blocks that we discussed for Porma is engaged life. We discussed positive emotions last time, and today what we are going to do is we are going to see how an engaged life can be one of the pathways to happiness in life. Before we move on, let me ask one question to everyone. Just a minute. I think there is a problem with freezing with slide. Okay, yes. What do you see from these pictures? What's going on here? What are these different pictures? Where are they belonging to? Well, this is the point where we need to have some interaction. So anybody can just unmute and start talking about it. What do you see in these pictures?
People are tired, sleepy, and engaged in phone rather than with each other.
Yeah, what do you see? These pictures belong to which places?
School, office, as well as coffee, meeting.
Yeah, there's a coffee shop and there's a college or a school and there's a board meeting. And like you said, it's totally correct that people are not, people are bored, people are not involved, people are not feeling too enthusiastic. They are engrossed in either their own phones, or they are sleepy, or they are not committed, or they are bored. In one word, I also heard the word that they are not engaged. So if they are not, and if you think they are not engaged, then the question, the millennium question is that what motivates people? What would engage people in each and every scenario of life? We took the example of a boyfriend and a girlfriend sitting in the restaurant. They're supposed to be all excited and looking forward to catching up. We took an example of a board meeting where probably there would have been some important question or an agenda going on, and yet people were yawning. And we also saw some very interesting class in a college or a school, and students were not motivated to listen to the professor or understand what was going on. So $1 million question is, what motivates people? Anybody would like to try?
Yeah, ma'am, actually, जहाँ तक मुझे लगता है कि motivation is like what we love. Suppose that I'm into job of the engineering, but I love painting. But I have never tried to become the painter. So whatever the stuff, topic, content related to painting, so definitely I will be the motivated to watch, to see, to understand the कि क्या कर रहा नहीं कर रहा. That I understand.
Absolutely correct, Manish. What we love to do, definitely that motivates us. Lekin uske piche bhi, there are a lot of questions going on behind that point, that whatever we love to do, can we make it our mainstream work? And can we just remain motivated to do that work in our life? Does it help us earn a living out of it? So there are a lot of ripple down questions that probably you are not addressing right now. But since you said painting, these questions did come to my mind. And now, if we talk about work motivation, okay, just to we are going to see that further in this session also. But just to understand what motivates people, and to see whether there is a difference in how it was in the yesteryears and how it is today. It is like 50 years of research in social science on what motivates people boils down to one very important question: if then. All that has been tried until now, whether it is industry, whether it is family, whether it is relationships, whether it is parents, all that has been tried is if then. If you do this, then you will get that. I'll again say, if you do this, then you will get that. And that is the major source of motivating people to do something in a very fulfilling way. And this brings us to the word called reward. Do we all like rewards? Quickly. Yes, no. Do we all like rewards?
Yes.
Yes, we all like
No, I
rewards.
don't. Savanaji, I think what in case of the violation, I don't like.
Okay, but then, whatever work we do we want to know whether the work has been done well or not? Whatever, if we dress up, do we want to know whether we have dressed, we look good or not? So if reward is in the form of a feedback, do we like that feedback or not? Yes. So somewhere or the other, if I just tweak the word reward and if I bring it to one single word, that is reward, we all like rewards, a little or a lot. रिवॉर्ड्स कितने पसंद है? ज्यादा पसंद है कि कम पसंद है?
Anything that there is no limit of the reward and feedback, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. But why? Now the question is why? Why there is no limit? अगर little भी पसंद है तो क्यों पसंद आ जाता है? If you like a lot, why is it that you like a little? Why is it that you like a lot? Why is it that you like unlimited rewards? That's because probably they get our attention.
Yes.
They get us the focus.
And also it's like that is where the people are engaged also.
Yes, that's the key word. Absolutely. But what is that engagement? That is, they get our attention. They get us the focus. The point is, if we get reward for whatever we are doing, we narrow our focus on it and try to do it as well as possible. But if that whatever we do is something not done before, probably if it is more creative, if it is more conceptual, then we cannot identify a perfect task because it's all very hazy, it's all very broad. And what we need is an expansive view instead of a very narrow view. So I'd like to point out on a very important fact that your day-to-day life is simple, algorithmic, simple to carry it out. And in this simple, very algorithmic life, if then reward system works really well, because you exactly know what you're going to do and what you have to do. But it doesn't really work well in case of complex, complicated, and long-term life events, where you are not even able to imagine what is expected out of you. And I think that explains what's going on. When we are not motivated, we feel disengaged. And we need to find out how we can do better when we are dealing with a very hazy, very complex, very complicated, and long-term life events. So definitely rewards help us or motivate us to remain engaged with every work activity, every life activity. And I want to mix the two things over here. I just don't want to keep talking about work. Even if we are in a personal activity or we are in a work-life activity, in both the cases, we definitely need motivation. But then in both the cases, this if-then formula, which has been researched for the last 50 years, and it has been used at its peak during the 1980s and the early 1990s, is just working with very simple, expected algorithmic systems. It could be daily life work systems, or it could be professional life work systems. It could be personal life work systems. But the moment there is some complex relationship, moment there is some complex personal or professional relationship, moment you're talking about or thinking about some long-term life goals or long-term life activity, it becomes very hazy. And there, if then doesn't work because the tasks are not clear. And there is exactly the question of motivation comes into the picture. So let's take it more simply ahead and let's focus first on workplace engagement to understand what is this exact thing that we're talking about. Now, for that, let's focus on one fact, that is money is a motivator, right? Money is one thing that's actually, okay, this is totally debatable. Money is not ruling the world. Some people might say that love is the thing that rules the world, so we are not debating on it, but let's at least say that money is a motivator. Okay, you want motivation, you want people to be engaged, you pay them enough. You got to pay them enough. You have no choice. So human beings in general, human beings in workplace in particular, are attuned to a norm of fairness. And they are driven by the norm of fairness. The moment you violate that norm of fairness, you start getting a motivation problem with them because it's not fair to pay less than your competitors. It's not fair to pay less and get more work done out of them. So basically, this norm of fairness has to be attuned to. You cannot afford to violate it if you want to motivate your people enough. And again, I'd like to add here that this norm of fairness works in every aspect of life. So money in workplace is a big motivator, and to motivate people, pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. So if we raise the money, people do better, but only in very simple algorithmic work. Only when they exactly know what they have to do, only when the task is very clear, like job lines. Like, for example, let me take the example of, let's say, tailoring. They exactly know that I have to cut this piece and I have to stitch it in this way and push it ahead. So they're very clear about their work in job lines. Even packaging, they know that I have to give one fold and push it ahead. I know I have to fill this bottle and push it ahead. So when there are very clear tasks that have to be done, very simple algorithmic work, then probably money can play a very important role in motivating people. But if you are doing more creative, conceptual work, then then people might be not very clear about what to focus on. They do not have the task right there in front of their eyes. And when there is more creative work to be done, when there is more conceptual work to be done, I wonder if you really want people to focus on. What do you want people to focus on money or on work? Obviously, I think we want people to focus on the work because there is no end to how creative the person can be. There is no idea about what concepts a person has in their mind. So we definitely want them to focus on the work and not on the money. But how do you get people, how do you get them be focused on the work? That is another $1 million question. And if you want them to be focused on work, I personally believe that you have to make sure that they are not focused on money. So though there is a huge fact that money is a motivator, we cannot afford that people all the time keep their focus on money. We also want them to focus on the work. And while you want them to remain focused on the work and not just on money, then it brings us to then what are the other motivators that actually help people to focus on the work? And one of the biggest motivators out of these three is autonomy. Autonomy is one very magical motivator. Why? Because it helps people to remain self-directed and it helps people to take their own decisions. It helps people to be themselves and it helps people to use their own wisdom. Now, if autonomy is doing this huge magic, we need to understand the management behind it, the technology behind it. More than management, the technology behind it. Please feel free to stop me and ask me questions if you have any. Please feel free to have a heads up over it. I'm more than happy to make it very interactive. It's just that I thought I'll keep my point across and then probably we can quickly have some question answer session also. So my premise here is that we have to pick what technology we want to use in order to engage people. And in the 80s and the early 90s, the technology that really worked well was management. But management, when you manage people, again, I'll say, take yourself back to not just work life, but also to personal life. When you start managing, all that you're expecting is compliance. We need management for compliance. But if we need engagement, then we cannot do management. We need autonomy. Management is just telling what all work we have to do, and whatever I say, whatever I expect them to do, I convey to them in a very nice and precise way with my best communication skills, with my effective communication skills, and I get them meet my expectations, and I'm happy, they are happy, they get the work done, they take their money, go back home. If I'm running a family, I ask my family members to have a particular itinerary of a day, and I have some budget to run the family. So I again lay in a very effective way my expectations around them, around my relationships. I use my best communication skills and I convey my expectations. I manage my relationships. I manage my family. And I get them to comply with my expectations. I get them to comply with my norms. And then everything is hunky-dory, but only on the surface level. They're just complying with me. And maybe they're not engaged. Maybe they don't love this compliance. Maybe they are not involved with this compliance. Maybe they are not indulged with this compliance because there is a difference of opinion. Because they might want to take some other decision. And they do not want to all the time comply with what I'm saying, but what they need is autonomy in decision making, and they might want some kind of self-direction. And think about it, autonomy and self-direction is how human beings engage and how people you love engage. If you're truly engaged in something, you get under there, you get there under your own steam. You have no problem with discomforts. You have no problem with a little bit of heat below yourself. It's just that you are truly engaged. You don't care for some kind of anxiety or trouble, and you want to get there. It means you have to look for ways to get people greater amounts of autonomy over various aspects of either job or life over their time when they do not, when they are not sure about what their tasks, teams, and techniques are. So whether it is a task, whether it is a team, or whether it is a technique, allow them to make decisions. Allow them to remain self-directed. Provide them as much amount of autonomy as possible over various aspects of work or life. And that somewhere instills a sense of responsibility, a sense of ownership, a little bit of positive stress. And of course, I'll be more than happy to know if some of you are skeptical about it. How many of you are skeptical about it? Do you want me to pause the presentation and take some inputs on this? How many of you all are skeptical about it? Anybody who is skeptical about giving autonomy and allowing people to remain self-directed rather than asking them to comply with your expectations and your understanding? I think healthy skepticism is always welcome.
Yeah, so not skepticism. I think it works. But also, of course, with autonomy, engagement is essential. If they're not doing even themselves, then you have to keep engaged with the people, because otherwise it will be, if someone is doing all its own and not engaging, then it's a problem.
Yes, yes. But then we just talked about the formula, Shabana. We just talked about the formula that autonomy and self-direction 100% boosts engagement. So if we are skeptical about it, you think that they might slip out of remaining engaged and you might have to motivate them to remain engaged. That's what your proposition is?
Yeah, or there should be a structure to like that, because sometimes when you are doing all of your own, and at times you get too consumed as well. So at that time, it's also important to be engaged.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So what I hear is probably what I hear is somewhere you still want to confirm all the time that you are keeping people engaged, and people are self-directed, but then people are engaged. You want to keep confirming that, right? And you want to double check that they don't, in spite of the autonomy that they get, they don't get off the track and they don't stop doing their work. This is what I hear. Am I right?
Yeah, means of
Yes.
course when there is a autonomy, they are doing their work, but sometimes the nature of the work, or if there is too much creativity involved, then you might miss the deadline. Then something like happens, like if there is a bigger team, then you tend to forget also to be fully engaged as well, because you are consumed by the work also. So in that case, both the things should be like parallel as well. So it's like it's not always automatically autonomy leading to engagement. It's like autonomy can also be self-absorbed, like even in the work itself.
Yes, I hear you. So there is always this risk of people becoming self-absorbed and not finishing the tasks or not meeting the deadlines. I totally agree with you. Right.
Or even if like it's not about meeting the task, maybe they're meeting their own task, but like many times the work are interlinked.
Yes, yes, yes. And there is this domino effect that other tasks have on the task that they have not been able to finish. Yes, on time. So there is this risk of timeline, which I hear. Absolutely. So this skepticism is pretty valid, and let us see how we can deal with this understanding of people not able to handle autonomy and becoming self-absorbed. Let's understand this in a very pragmatic way. And before we get to that point, the question is that the question that I proposed was how many of us are skeptical about self-direction and autonomy boosting engagement. Now, the thing is, ask yourself, which was the best boss that you ever had? And if you're not a working professional, ask yourself, which is the best relationship that you've ever been in? It could be a boss-subordinate relationship, or it could be a friendship relationship, or it could be any other relationship. But which is the best relationship you've ever been in? Has that relationship that's coming to your mind telling you that, or is your mind telling you that I love the relationship when the other person was controlling, guiding, helping me to meet compliance, so that I become the most compliant person, I become the perfect person, and I become the best working person, whether it was work on relationship or work on personal relationship or work-life relationship? Do you ever get an answer that I loved it when I was controlled, when I was guided, when I was helped all the time, and I was made to be that picture perfect? Or the best relationships that are right now crossing your mind are those relationships where you were allowed to think, where you were allowed to be yourself, where someone told you that all that I want is high standards and autonomy. And if that is the answer that you're getting, It's because that's how you engage people. And that's how people engage in a true sense. Whether it is engaging with personal life relationships or with work-life relationships. And when I'm using the word relationship, it is relationship with your own work also, not just with people at workplace. That's exactly how people engage. Let's take a peek into some life other than work to understand this better. What do you think about mountaineering or mountain climbing? If you hear from people who have climbed mountain, do you think that they always talk about moments of joy and happiness? No, I don't think. If you talk to them or if you read about them, they talk about misery, a mountain climbing experience that was full of misery. They talk about frostbites and they talk about difficulties in walking, climbing, breathing, cold temperatures, challenging circumstances. They talk about all these things. And if they were only to be happy, then the moment they get to the top, they would just say that, oh, this was not a happy experience. It was a terrible mistake and I would never do it again. Instead, I would just go on a beach and I would relax. I would have some nice time with my friends. I would go to a bar or a pub and I would just enjoy. But that's not what these people do. Instead, the same people, they go down and after they recover, they go up again. And if we take this as a serious example, then it tells us about all the aspects of life. It suggests that we care about reaching the peak, reaching the end, reaching at that top. It suggests that we care about the fight, we care about the challenge. It suggests that there are all kinds of other things that motivate us. Either to work or to behave in all kinds of ways. And personally, I started thinking about engagement in this direction after one of my clients came to me for coaching and shared a very interesting experience with me. This guy said that, Nirali, when I was working on a PowerPoint presentation, I had to work on this very important PowerPoint presentation because we had a merger and acquisition of our company upcoming. He was working on this, he was working with a very big corporate company, and there was a preparation to be prepared for an upcoming merger and acquisition. And he was working really hard on this presentation, work late nights for days, and the day before it was due, he sent it to his boss for a final approval. The boss wrote back, excellent presentation, but the merger has been cancelled. And believe me, this guy was depressed. He was deeply depressed. And the moment he was working, he was actually quite happy. And then our coaching agenda revolved around the idea of the fruits of our inputs. He wanted to discuss about the fruits of our inputs. And if you want to discuss this in a different way, let's say, what is it? And let's take an example of an experiment that we can do for motivation and engagement in life. Let's take this very cute example. There's this very nice experiment that has been done on engagement and motivation in life. Now, there was this, there were two groups. One is the controlled group and the other is the experimental group, right? So the experimental group was given Lego pieces, ninja. My son is very fond of these ninja pieces. So I've taken the ninja pieces in the slide. So this group was given Lego pieces and they were asked to make certain Lego characters, maybe ninja characters. Okay, and they were said that you will be paid 100 rupees for this if you make a ninja character and you give it to us. So people were really motivated and they said, yes, I'm ready to pay 100 rupees for this. And I'll keep making it. So quickly the person finished making a ninja character. That ninja character was received, given 100 rupees, and the character was put under the table. Then there was a proposition that what if I ask you to make the same ninja character again, but now only for rupees 50. So these guys said that yes, ready. And then they made the ninja character out of the Lego pieces, took rupees 50, and the built character was taken, put on the table. And then there was another proposition to make it for 30, and then 20, and then 10 rupees. And then, of course, for 5 rupees, and so on. And it went on until many people even made it for 5 rupees, and then the story went on, and many Lego characters, ninja characters were made and put under the table. So this was with one of the groups where you were asked to build one character after the other for rupees 50, 30, 20, 10, until people start saying no more. Now we are not interested. And this is what one can call to be a meaningful condition. We also told, I mean, the players were also told that once the activity is over, all these characters will be disassembled or unassembled, and they will be put into the box to give to the other player. And they were okay about it. They were okay about it. Now the thing is that there was another experiment group, like I said, which was called a Sisyphus group. You know the story of Sisyphus? Sisyphus was punished by a Greek god, and the punishment was that he had to push the same rock up the hill. And when he was almost, when it was almost to the end, the rock would roll down again, and he would have to start pushing it again. And this went on and on. And this was the punishment. So this is called Sisyphus, Sisyphic condition, I would say, Sisyphic condition. Sorry for the spelling mistake. So here too, the ninja was disassembled. So here, what was it that at least it was like whatever was to be made by the participants or the players, at least they were told that we are receiving it. It was put under the table, the money went, and it was all done. But in the Sisyphic condition, what happened is people were paid the same amount of money. It started with 100, but the entire Lego piece was disassembled right in front of their eyes and was put into the box back right in front of their eyes. Entire effort of building something was scrambled in front of their eyes and was put into the box. So here too, the ninja player felt that his efforts were trashed. Like my client, where he made a very beautiful presentation, and because it was not used, he felt that his efforts were trashed. So what is the essence of doing futile job? Like in case of Sisyphus, if he punished, let's say, for example, in case of Sisyphus, if he pushed different hills, one hill he pushed, it came down, no problem. Then he pushed another hill, it went up, it came down, no problem. It came rolling down. The course was the same, the punishment would remain the same, but at least he would get to make to push up the different hills, and there he would have some sense of progress. But he was just pushing the same hill, which was rolling back, and again the same hill, which was a very futile job. So the point is, my point is that when people do the same work over and over and over again without any major or evident progress, it is extremely demotivating in spite of them being paid for that job. It is extremely demotivating. And when they are in spite of them being paid for their job, and there is no major satisfaction in doing that job. People were only building Lego for money. People were not doing some great job like curing cancer or preserving forests or building bridges or raising children. They were only building Lego for money. There was no major satisfaction. Plus, everybody knew that these Lego would be destroyed sooner they were built. Similarly, in life, even in relationships, when efforts don't lead to progress or results, and if one witnesses stagnancy or a situation of non-reward, there is no sense of judgment. There is no sense of engagement. There is a deep sense of disengagement because they see these relationships, whether personal or work-life relations, to be extremely futile, to be non-rewarding, to be extremely stagnant, to be taking away their core out of them for the sake of compliance and not allowing them to be treated like independent, individual, autonomous, wise decision-making people. It is not about a personal commitment to compliance. It is about a mutual commitment to individuals. One may be satisfied with a surface level occupation, but one can never be engaged because there is no love for activity. It's very important that a person needs love for activity. If you love Lego, you will keep making more Lego pieces in spite of less money. But the same is not true in Sisyphic condition. The thing is that when we break, people think, when we break things, people love in front of their own eyes. No money can motivate them. Because we are crushing whatever they have built with love. We are crushing what they are. We are crushing their joy. And that would definitely get them out of this activity. And in spite of that little anxiety, in spite of that steam under their selves, in spite of the discomfort, in spite of the challenge involved, they have been able to do that activity for a longer duration because of the love for the activity. And the moment they know that their love is not honored, their joy has been destroyed, it's not been rewarded, and there is stagnancy, there is mere compliance, then of course, immediately the person is going to disengage from either their task, that work, or that relationship. So all these things are very delicate things, whether it is work-life relationships or personal life relationships. If you want people to remain engaged, it's very important that you honor their autonomy, you honor their self-direction, you honor their involvement. You make them feel belonged to. Let's take another couple of examples before we wind up. We all these days, when I buy furniture, when we bought this new house, we bought some furniture from certain different places, and we assembled that furniture on our own. And this is something that we did in our previous home also. Believe me, the entire experience of assembling, not fitting into the right mold, getting more appliances so that it fits in, and it was such a hassle for me and my husband. It was such a huge hassle that we actually got exasperated. And then we were like, next time when we have to buy something, we are not going to do this. We are just going to buy some ready-made stuff and put it in the house. And that entire experience made us crib a little bit. But then after the furniture was made, was assembled well, and was put into our hall, put into our bedroom, we loved that piece of creation that we kept seeing and using in front of our eyes. Each and every day, we thoroughly sense that we sense that pride that we made it, this belongs to us. And when we took this new home, again, we did the same thing, that we bought certain pieces of our choice. We put them together. We indulged in painting on the furniture, and we indulged in the choice of design, and we again did it on our own. And now that we have our home set, we are very happy and proud about it. We love staying here, and we love watching what we have created. So what my proposition is that when people work hard, they love their work to a higher degree. That hard work doesn't take away any love for work from them. Actually, they love their work to a higher degree. Let's take this another very interesting example of cake mix. When I was a college-going girl, I remember that was the first cake that I made, where I put the sifted flour and I put all the ingredients, and I mixed it with eggs, and I did whatever was instructed to me. And that first piece of cake turned out to be a huge disaster. It was dark in color, it was thick like a rock, and I was so embarrassed about the whole output. And then I started improvising on it, but I could hardly improvise. So I really wanted to give up. And then I heard about a friend of mine who was in US. She said, why don't you try this brand, Betty Crocker, and you should be able to enjoy it, because you just have to put some water or milk, whatever you feel like, and then put it in the oven and you're all sorted. I was like, okay, great, let me do that. And when I did that, of course, the cake came out to be perfectly correct.
Hello, Nirali.
Hi, Rajwin.
I just wanted to ask you why I would like to share 2 minutes of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in my journey of winning the crown. So why do I experience this doubtfulness? Why do people make me feel doubtfulness?
Come again? I didn't get your question, please.
Why do people make me feel how to engage when people make you feel doubtful?
People feel doubtful about what? About their own strengths or the task?
Own strength. Own strengths, yeah.
Yeah, own strengths. Then probably can we sometime do a very good analysis about which strengths drive us, which virtues drive us, and check what our strengths are, because maybe we are not using the correct strengths. Yeah, maybe we can do that analysis and we can find out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so coming back to this example, I was happy that the cake was ready, but I was not proud about the cake. And when I served the cake to my family members and my friends, I did not have that sense of pride in it. I did not feel that I have baked it. I put it there, and I was, since I'm so high on honesty, I was not having the courage to say that, look, this is my cake. The way I used to share the cake, which was not so great, and yet I had that sense of ownership over the cake. So of course, then I also came to know, when I did a little research, I came to know that these cake mixes did not work very well, even in the market, because they did not provide that sense of belongingness or sense of ownership to people. And that is why the cake mix companies, what they did is they removed the egg and the milk from the packet. And they said, okay, all that you have to do is now you add eggs, you add milk, and then you make it. So I had to, even the people whom I read about, they had to add eggs, and they had to actually measure the amount of milk, and then they had to pour it inside, and they had to check, how everything was mixed together, and then what a beautiful creation came out of the OTG. And they felt the sense of ownership, the sense of creation. So what I mean to say is people like to work hard. People like to work for whatever they want to create. And that hard work actually increases the degree of love for that work or for that relationship. We all like to work hard behind our relationships, whether it is personal or professional. Why? Because we feel involved, we feel indulged, and we feel belonged to. And if we want to do that, what is the number one formula to boost engagement? If we want to feel belonged to, work hard, then the number one formula that I proposed and Rajvin also hinted was that we start focusing on our strengths and we start being driven by our values or by our virtues. Because it's not just about what you do, it's also about why you do it and how you do it. The moment you start using your strengths in your daily life, you start feeling involved, you start feeling indulged, you start feeling belonged to because you're being yourself. You don't have to make an effort. And these are the factors that lead to happiness. Why you're doing certain things makes you question the meaning behind the work that you're doing, whether you love it or not, whether you are able to use your strengths or not. How you do it is also bringing you back to the same pointer, that is, you're being able to use your strengths while you're doing that work or while you're engaging into a work relationship or a personal relationship. Are you able to use your strengths? Are you able to be driven by your values? If you believe in fairness, are you able to experience fairness in that relationship with work or a person? And the moment you start experiencing you being, you working with your strengths and your virtues, immediately you start feeling engaged. So living an engaged life is basically living a life driven by your values and your strengths. These are the factors that will lead to engagement. Think about how you can use all these strengths to bring about engagement. These strengths can increase the value that we hold for an activity or relationship, not because it is a relationship, but because of the time and the connection and the emotions that we put into them. And whatever is the end result, it is our creation. Whatever, when we do things with our strengths and when we are driven by our values or by virtues, we feel like creators. It could be that we are creators of a relationship or creators of work or a business or an innovation, but we are the creators. They belong to us. We feel complete. We feel original about the way we are handling things. And there is always learning, of course. So to cut the long story short, living an engaged life is all about not just money, like what I just said. Living an engaged life, is not just all about money that motivates us, but it is about all that we have been discussing until now. It's about autonomy, it's about meaning, it's about creation, it's about challenge, ownership, identity, pride, connectedness, etc., etc., etc. And all these things can be put into one sentence, that it use of strengths in your daily life. The moment you start living a strength-based life, whether it is personal or professional, you start living a very engaged life. I hope this is this has made sense to you. Thank you very much. And I'm open to any questions. Now we have around 5 minutes. Yeah.
If you can stop sharing. So
Yeah, of course. Yes. Thank you so much. I hope this was time well spent.
Yes, it was really good. Even the whole exercises that you shared, they were really great. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any questions? I'm happy to take. Rajvin, in your case, I think let us do an assessment of your strengths and let's see which strengths are you focusing on and which strengths you're struggling with. Definitely, we can do that.
Yeah, and I think her question was like, when people make her doubtful about her strength, then how to overcome that?
Yeah, but then doubt should not come if she's very sure about the strengths that she's using. So I will be more than happy to do some via strength assessment. It's a psychometric assessment. And maybe she can just be focusing on her top 5 for the time being and function out of those top 5. And then I think there should not be any doubt, because we function out of our major strengths or our core strengths in a very subconscious way. And the challenge that comes, whether it is doubt or whether it is discomfort or whether it is probably not able to tie a strength to the goal and utilize it properly, not feeling energized, all these aspects come into the picture when you are not using a strength that you have developed well. Okay, for example, let me take an example of perseverance. Maybe I'm not very perseverant as a person. I've not trained myself to be perseverant. You know, strengths are like muscles. ये muscle को हम जितना बनाएंगे उतना ही वो बनेंगे, और जैसे muscle strong बनेंगे हम heavy weight lift कर पाएंगे. तो कुछ strengths हमने practice ही नहीं की है, कुछ some strengths we haven't used them in our daily life, we haven't practiced them enough. So we become very uncomfortable about using those strengths, and we get into self-doubt whether I can be perseverant or not. So maybe we can give some time to ourselves to basically build that muscle of perseverance, and then see the amount of weight you can lift by utilizing that strength. Am I making sense?
Yes.
The question is also कि doubt कहाँ से आ रहा है? Where is the doubt seeded? Whether it is just in your strengths, which you haven't built enough, or whether it is rooted somewhere else. So there is a lot of dialogue needed around this. There is no quick formula. I don't have a paracetamol.
And I think somewhere the answer is also in the engagement, right? If someone makes us feel doubtful, then we can also engage them, what make them feel like so.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yes, yes. Totally agree with you. Yes, ma'am. So can we just have a quick pic? Can we just put the cameras on? Maybe I can just, if someone else has taken the pictures, I'll be very happy that if you can share it with me.
I clicked your picture with